I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to qualifying for race number 25 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series, as we're here under the lights at Bristol Motor Speedway, the dirt-covered Bristol Motor Speedway. Getting ready for what's going to be only one qualifying round here tonight, since only 42 drivers are attempting to qualify, so that would make up a full field, and we do have a lights race that is scheduled for tonight as well. So there'll be 20 minutes on the clock, and the fastest driver on the racetrack will be starting from the pole. We're going to be setting the starting lineup in just one round here this evening. Last week, I'll tell you what, Atlanta Motor Speedway definitely doing its part into shaking things up in regards to who may make the playoffs and who won't in both the top 10 and the wild card positions. Had a couple of drivers make their way up into the top 10 in points, like Keith Batson, Caleb Fogler, and Reese Banks. Mitchell Collins and Carson Gum are knocking on the door right now of the top 10 in points. But last week, with the victory of one Zach Rogers, it has really made things interesting in terms of the wild card positions, because Zach Rogers, with that victory, has moved up into the 6th seed as far as the wild card positioning goes, and he currently has knocked out his Evans Motorsports teammate Zachary Fitzwater. Matthew Rodriguez will obviously be locked into the field here this week, and we know he'll be locked into the field next week as well. We'll have a little bit more on that in just a few moments. And Rodriguez coming into this race is only 12 points behind the 30th in the standings cut line, has those 2 victories, so he would certainly jump back up into a higher seeded wild card position if he made his way back up above that 30th in the standings cut line. A lot of moving pieces from last week, and they're just going to get even crazier, I think, at the conclusion of this weekend here at Bristol Dirt. Lap time starting to clock in here. You're going to see them scrolling on the top of your screen. A couple of things at the conclusion of last week. New points leader, Rob Evans, taking the points lead back from Austin LaPlante. 4-point advantage over Austin with only 2 races left here in the regular season. That 15 valuable playoff points on the line for the driver that is at the top of the standings when the checkered flag waves at Auto Club next week. Right now, it looks like it's 4 drivers that are in the hunt for that points lead battle. Evans and LaPlante, obviously, as just mentioned, but also James Qualls is only 12 points back in 3rd, and Casey Hoyt is only 20 points back in the 4th position. Jesse Turner would need a good run here this weekend to get into the conversation. 49 points back in 5th, and really only driver still left in the long shot category to be in that conversation. We also know that even before we take the green flag here tomorrow night, we have 3 drivers that are locked into the playoffs via top 10, regardless of what happens tomorrow night and at Auto Club next week. Rob Evans, Austin LaPlante, and James Qualls. They're high enough in the point standings and are far enough ahead of the 10th in the standings cut line. They are locked in to the playoffs here in Season 7, so congratulations to them. Top of the board right now is Ryan Butcher in the 78. And Ryan Butcher comes into this race the defending race winner. There are only 3 drivers, including Ryan Butcher, that have formally taken a checkered flag here at Bristol Dirt. Nick Gunther would be another of them. He took the checkered flag here back at Season 5, and Carson Gum took the checkered flag here back in, I believe it was Season 3. Bristol Dirt was not always on the Duracell Cup Series schedule. It actually replaced Lakewood after Season 1. Lakewood was around, I think it was the 20th or 19th race of the season. It was right in the middle of the second half of the regular season. We then ended up having the Chili Bowl come into play in Seasons 3 and 4, but Bristol Dirt then, because of that, got regulated down towards the very bottom of the regular season schedule in the 25th slot, and has been there ever since. $17.929 right now, the lap that Ryan Butcher has, and as stated, we aren't having a second round of qualifying here since we have the lights drivers at 7 p.m. later on this evening. So I've got to give some time for the track officials to be able to go out there, groom the racetrack, put a little bit more moisture into the racetrack in preparation for that lights race. An interesting thing, NNSCRA officials making the announcement that tonight's lights race and tomorrow's cup race will run caution-free. There may be incidents, but they will not throw yellow flags for them. So that will be an interesting little twist that these drivers will have to prepare for, both tonight and tomorrow night. So let's talk about the scenario for drivers that are trying to get into the playoffs here in these final 2 races of the season. And some big news really surrounding a team and 2 drivers in regards to not only this season but also next season. Let's see if we can find the driver in question, and that is Reggie Fogelman. The announcement made that next year Reggie Fogelman will be making the jump from Northeast Motorsports over to Haas Racing, where he'll be piloting one of the new Toyota Camry XSEs. Will be the number 5 for Haas Racing, and will be, at this point in time, a lot can change between now and Season 8, but at this point in time, would be doing so as a non-charter driver. Now, the announcement was also made that to kind of get prepared for the upcoming next season, Reggie Fogelman will run 5 races for Haas Racing this season, beginning next week at the regular season finale at Auto Club. He would do so in a non-charter capacity. It'll be Auto Club, Gateway, and then the following 3 races after that, which at the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure where those venues are. But he will have to qualify his way in on time for all 5 of those races, since the 24 charter belongs to Northeast Motorsports. And we've seen the secondary entry, whether it be Matthew Rodriguez, Roberto Crown Jr., Benny Watson, any of the drivers that have attempted to qualify over in that ride have had to do so on speed. They have not been able to rely on a charter. They've been a non-charter entity out of the Haas Racing stables. So Reggie Fogelman will have to qualify his way in to the next 5 races starting next week on time, unless he is able to get into the playoffs. If he gets into the playoffs, then there is a non-charter waiver that is given where a non-charter driver gets a charter entry for the races that they are in the playoffs for, meaning in the hunt for the championship. If they end up getting eliminated after a round, then they lose that charter and go back to the non-charter description. So with Reggie Fogelman out of the 24 next week at Auto Club, Northeast Motorsports has made the announcement that Matthew Rodriguez will step behind the wheel of the 24 Chevrolet, and he will be chartered for next week at Auto Club. So for a driver that's trying to make his way into the top 30 in points, absolutely needing to qualify in order to do so, he's locked into this week's race at Bristol, since only 42 drivers are attempting to qualify, and next week he'll be locked in with a charter courtesy of Northeast Motorsports. So Matthew Rodriguez and his chances looking pretty good as we had a spin back here. That's last week's winner, Zach Rogers, looping it around along with Matt McIntyre. And going to be a little bit of damage there on the 6. Fortunately, no second round, so we'll keep his positioning where he's at right now, and that is 12th place. But yeah, a lot of moving pieces here in preparation for next season. Going to be very interesting to see what Reggie Fogelman's future path is going to be here in Season 7 in preparation for the upcoming 8th season. There's Matt Rod, 19th on the board right now. You know, you look back at last year, the end of the regular season, and some drivers made some last-minute moves to eventually get into the playoffs. Charles Sanford, we mentioned last week at Atlanta. That was where he went to victory lane that locked him into the playoffs, and eventually he went on to win the championship. Right here at Bristol Dirt 1 season ago, it was Ryan Butcher who won his way into the playoffs. And I looked down in the point standings, and there are quite a number of drivers that really could easily, with a victory here tomorrow evening, put themselves right in the forefront in the conversation for a playoff position, whether it be in the top 10 in points or into a wild card position. Mitchell Collins and Carson Gum, as I mentioned, they are just outside of the top 10, so they could point their way in. We're looking at Chris Dollerton. He could win his way into the playoffs. Jose Mills, Michael Norman, Ryan Butcher, Reggie Fogelman, easily they could do the same. Charles Sanford, Cody Lamas, Anthony McCurry, Matt McIntyre, and Quentin Moore are also still in the conversation, but I think that tomorrow night they have to treat it as a must-win because they need a win and some points, because they got to get up there into the same conversation as Zach Rogers and Zachary Fitzwater, especially if Matthew Rodriguez makes it back into the top 30 in points, because then that shifts the cut line down even further. Another driver that will be focused on tomorrow evening, if we can find him here, is the 88 of Connor Breton, because Breton comes into this race currently in the number 1 seed for the wild card drivers. He's actually on pit road. Is Connor Breton, and with his 3 victories, he would currently be inside the top 30 in points, be the number 1 seed, since he has the most wins of the drivers outside of the top 10. However, he's coming into this race only 8 points to the good above the cut line, which is currently 30th in the standings, Matt Haas. If Breton falls out of the top 30, that's another position that somebody might be able to get into the playoffs. Breton will have to rely on 2 good finishes both here and next week at Auto Club, because he is mathematically too close to that cut line to feel safe in locking himself up a spot in the championship. I believe as well there are a couple of drivers that we can look at that are locked into the playoffs just based on where they are in points and the victories that they have. One of those drivers, I believe, would be Will Goss. I believe we can secure him into the playoffs, being 14th in overall points with 2 trips to victory lane. He also comes into this race a total of 70 points, I believe, above the cut line. Well, guess you can't lock him in then, because he'd need to be a total of 94 points ahead of the cut line to be locked in. So Will's close. He's very close to being locked into the playoffs. Maybe next week he'd mathematically be locked in if he can have a good run here tomorrow night. Jessica Shelton's not safe yet. She's 20th in overall points with her 2 victories, but she is a little less than 50 points above the 30th in the standings cut line. And then the jury is still out on drivers that have 1 win, since we don't know the situation of Breton, Rodriguez, and of course if we have 2 different winners in these next 2 races, that of course would make things a little bit more complicated as well. So, only drivers we know right now for absolute certainty would be Evans, LaPlante, and Qualls that are locked in on points. Qualls, of course, going to have 15 bonus points with his 3 victories. Casey Hoyt, if Casey Hoyt can have top 10, top 15 tomorrow evening, Hoyt would be locked in heading into Auto Club. And Hoyt's got 3 victories, and then of course there's that 15 bonus points up for grabs to the driver that wins the regular season championship. Nobody has been able to top Ryan Butcher and his 17.929, as we still have 6.5 minutes remaining. Still a chance somebody might have something, but the track's very congested. Of course, with the laps that all these drivers have turned, the dirt would be drying out, grip would be going away. Got to take the optimal moistened surface to be able to put down the best lap time, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to top Ryan Butcher unless they find something here. Carson Gum just now merging back onto the track is currently second fastest, so it looks like, barring any major changes here in these final 6 minutes, 2 former Bristol Dirt winners will be our front row for tomorrow night's race. The other former winner, in Nick Gunther, currently is in the 32nd position right now in his Mazda. Now remember though, Nick Gunther actually, when he won here back in Season 5, was not in a Mazda. Season 5 was the year that it was 3 drivers per car. He was in a conglomerate effort with Anthony McCurry and Mike Tellier, and they were in a Chevrolet out of Gunther Motorsports, which of course will be making its return, as we announced last week, at Atlanta to the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series with a technical alliance with Fortnite Squad Racing in the newly named Garage 55 effort, an all Mazda team with Nick Gunther, Anthony McCurry running full time, and then a third entry that will have multiple drivers behind the wheel. A couple of drivers already announced in Autumn Brooks and Ralph Mason. We've seen a little bit of a showcase of both of those drivers. Ralph Mason ran very well at Mid-Ohio. And Autumn Brooks, we saw her in the All-Star Open. Had a very good outing there in a Ford that was fielded out of Bishop Family Racing. Well, Rob Evans, Austin LaPlante, James Qualls, we talk about them coming into tonight's race, all battling for the points lead. Look at this, 3 wide. This is a taste of what we're going to be seeing tomorrow evening. And remember, if an incident breaks out tomorrow night or tonight in the lights race, there will be no caution thrown for it. So, don't know how anxious you'll be to get this aggressive, but I guess these drivers are testing the waters, trying to find some grip. Are we looking 4 here in qualifying? Yes, we are, and Kyler Sustre paid the price as he was up in the wall all the way through 1 and 2, but right now the advantage in that battle for the points lead would go to Rob Evans. He is currently sitting 8th on the board. Austin LaPlante not that far behind though. He's in 9th, and James Qualls right now is in 20th on the speed charts. There's Will Goss on pit lane. Announced a couple of weeks ago that he's been re-signed to Young Motorsports to pilot the number 11 again next year. 2-time winner on the season. Victories at North Wilkesboro and Homestead, Miami, and depending on how he does tomorrow night, a locked-in playoff contender for the championship. Zach Rogers, I cannot get over the comeback. I honestly feel that Zach Rogers, if we had an award for best comeback of the season, Zach Rogers would definitely get it. You think about the situation that Zach Rogers was in at the beginning of the year. They put him in the ride when they needed somebody at the last minute at the beginning of the season, based off of the 2 victories he had in the showcase races last year, which, if I recall correctly, were the Charlotte Roval and Homestead Miami Speedway. He finished 2nd overall to Will Goss in that championship. They put him behind the wheel of the car, and he struggled. He was for a number of weeks dead last in the point standings of the chartered rides. There was absolutely, it seemed, no hope of him even getting into the top 30, let alone going to victory lane. But something seemed to click. Maybe back at Watkins Glen might have been the turning point for him. And next thing you know, he's up in the top 30 in points. He came into last week's race at Atlanta 24th in overall standings, and then found victory lane. Moved up to 21st in points coming into this weekend, and currently sits in a playoff position via wild card. Can that momentum continue? We'll have to wait and see. There's a chance that Evans Motorsports could have all 3 of its cars in the playoffs. Right now, Rob Evans is locked in on points. Rogers and Fitzwater vying for wild card positions. That's never happened before. I believe that 2 cars is the most that Evans Motorsports has ever had in a Duracell Cup Series playoff system. Caleb Fogler in the 28. He's coming back to Blue Oval Automotive next year, potentially with a new teammate. Still been no confirmation on Levi McIntyre and the Shadow Cult Racing team, whether they're going to be returning next season. Quentin Moore, he'll be running a third full-time season next year for Joanne Abbott Motorsports. The announcement made that Osborne, Walls, and Moore all going to be returning to their respective rides. Some different sponsorship for Joshua Osborne next season, though, as he'll have Walmart as his primary. Well, Ryan Butcher stays at the top of the leaderboard, but Carson Gum has been relegated down to second because somehow, later on in this session, Cody Lamas in the 84 car has found some extra speed. He's on pit road right now. Cody clocking in at a 17.940, 5/1000ths faster than Carson Gum's 945. And Cody Lamas right now sits on the outside of the front row as the red flag is displayed. And Ryan Butcher, who won this event 1 season ago, looks like he'll be the one that will lead us to green tomorrow night in what is going to be a caution-free 100-lap main event. Carson Gum will be third. Lord Chung sits in the 4th position, so a couple of the Auto Junction Racing Toyotas will be up inside of the top 5, and Michael Norman currently sits 5th on the speed charts as we wait for the session to be official, and indeed there it is. Ryan Butcher, can he pull it off again? 2 seasons in a row, get himself a last-minute victory at Bristol Dirt, and put himself in the playoffs. Butcher comes into this race 19th in overall points, so he would potentially be able to win himself a way into the playoffs if he is able to do so tomorrow night. Cody Lamas, good starting track position for him. Cody with a good run in Atlanta last week, 25th in overall points. He could win his way into the playoffs. Carson Gum could point his way into the playoffs as he'll start 3rd. Laura Chung will start in 4th. I think mathematically she would need to win 2 races in a row to even have remotely a shot of making her second playoff appearance. And Michael Norman will clock in 5th. Michael 18th in overall points, another driver who could win his way into the postseason. Reggie Fogelman also could win his way into a playoff spot, so he'll start 6th. Kyle Matthews will bring it home in the 7th position. Looks like Matthews is a total of 40 points below the cut line. I think based off of the drivers ahead of him, he would probably have to win the next 2 races as well. His S3 Motorsports teammate Jessica Shelton will be joining him in row number 4. Shelton will start 8th. Shelton trying to keep a tidy cushion between her and that cut line. Good starting track position tomorrow night. Rob Evans and Austin LaPlante, 4 points separate those two for the points lead, and they're going to share the 5th row in the top 10 in the 9th and 10th position. They already know they're locked into the playoffs via points. Now they're going to be duking it out for those 15 bonus points for the regular season championship. Nathan Ormond, a couple of weeks removed from his victory at Watkins Glen. We kind of documented this last week at Atlanta. Too far down the point standings that even if he were, I believe, to win the next 2 races, I don't think he would accumulate enough points to even get into the top 30 in the standings. But still some good speed out of that car in that 11th spot. And looks like all 3 of the Auto Junction Racing Toyotas will start in the top 12 with Ryan Brommer going to be in the 12th position. Reese Banks, Anthony McCurry, Dylan Pote, the top 15. Jesse Turner looking to lock himself into the playoffs on points here tomorrow night, along with Casey Hoyt. I believe those would be the only 2 drivers that could do so tomorrow evening. Destin Bolin, Dylan Poteet, they're not far enough ahead of the cut line yet. Neither is Keith Batson or Caleb Vogler. They'd have to pretty much rely on a good run tomorrow night and a good run next week at Auto Club. But you take a look at the rest of the qualifying results, and one that really jumps out to me down there is Mitchell Collins, who is the first car out of the top 10 right now, 11th in overall points, only 1 point below the 10th in standings cut line, and he's going to have to start from shotgun. Also, Connor Breton way back here as well. A driver that we mentioned has to stay in the top 30 in points to have that number 1 wild card seed, and he is not that far ahead of the cut line. He's going to be very deep in traffic tomorrow evening. Also, Levi McIntyre currently trying to keep himself in the wild card conversation. Levi dropped 7 spots in points last week after a fuel injector problem, 16th in overall points, so he's hovering right around that cut line for the final wild card position. Going to be interesting to see how it all plays out when the green flag flies tomorrow night. But expedited qualifying here, no second round, so Ryan Butcher is your pole sitter for tomorrow evening's event. This due in part to the fact that we've got the lights drivers that got to take to the track at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here this evening, and you'll be seeing that along with tomorrow night's Cup Series race here from Bristol Dirt that will also be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should be interesting events coming up here in the next 24 hours. Hope you guys will join us for both of them. If you enjoyed this qualifying session, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, part of the crew today, and we'll see you guys later on this evening or tomorrow night, depending on when you tune in to our next broadcast here on NNSCRA TV, Offline Racing at its best.